What's going on, you guys? We're here back in the hobby room doing another YouTube video for you guys. I know it's been a little bit since I posted, and I've said it in my last video that I would be better about posting some videos up, but been doing a lot of events lately. Been trying to get ahead of the game with car preparation, practice, and so forth, so I'm sure you guys can understand. But I got a new one here for you today. We're doing a setup video recap from the Desert Classic this past weekend at Hobby Action Raceway in Chandler, Arizona. Of course, I know many of you guys follow my social media, Spencer Rivkin. You guys get to see the latest videos and cars and stuff that I race. And of course, we had a very successful weekend last week. Racing at the Desert Classic. I finished first place in the two-wheel drive modified buggy class, third place in the four-wheel drive modified buggy class, and fifth place in truck. I know you can give me all the crap. I need to get better about racing truck, but my truck's been feeling good. But anyways, this video is about the winning setup of my two-wheel drive buggy, so let's get right into it. So for the tires of choice at the Desert Classic last weekend is the Jconcepts Silver compound. It's kind of our newer compound that we had beginning of last year or so, or 2 years ago, excuse me, where we pretty much ran this compound at the Nationals, debuted it there at the Nationals at EN Hobbies, and ever since it's been kind of our new standard indoor racing compound tire. The tires here that you see are Jconcepts Ellipse. Of course, they do not have tread on them. We chuck these up in a drill and sand them completely slicked out. It seems like that's kind of been the new standard at a lot of these tracks, to have fully slicked out racing on the track. So when we slick these out, they just have a lot more traction, more surface area on the track, and of course, every track's a little bit different. Some tracks that you need to run pin because it's really dusty, but it seems like that the races that we've been going to or traveling to, such as CRC, Hobby Action, Myrtle Beach, Beach RC, and Trackside Hobbies and such of those kind of tracks, they seems like the slick tire is definitely more preferred. So Jconcepts Silvers and Ellipse, we have the front tires, as you can see, they have glued on the front sidewalls. That is a little bit of a pro tip that we've been kind of doing. When we glue the front sidewalls, it allows that the car can go harder into a corner without traction rolling. It actually kind of numbs out the steering a little bit, but when you get in the middle of the corner, since the sidewall is a little bit stiffer, it actually wants to carve a little bit harder to have more of that corner speed. So a little bit more effortless driving. The tires actually do a little bit more of the work for you. And what more can you ask about a tire? So check this out. These are Jconcepts Ellipse in the silver compound, Dirt Tech foam, mono wheel. I didn't cut at the foam. I didn't do anything special to the foam. Glued them up, sanded them slick, and used liquid wrench or PB Blaster. At the event, I did use PB Blaster for the sauce. I got about 2 or 3 runs out of these, and then started on a new set pretty much each day. So check it out, and we'll get into the car setup. So, as you can see, I got my little camera right here. We're going to be doing some recording. I'll be able to talk to you guys face to face or screen to screen, whatever you want to call it. This thing right here, I'll have my pointer so you guys can see what's going on here through the whole walkthrough of the setup and so forth. So, as you can see here, I'm running the +1 front axle height. This is something that I've been running since CRC. It seems like it has a little bit better steering. I've had +2. When you lower it, it kind of throws a little bit more weight to the front of the car to to have a little bit more of that on-power steering feel, a little bit more corner speed. Kind of work our way to the center wing. This is the Jconcepts front wing with the cool little Jconcept screws. But the standard location on the Kimberlink is just middle location with a 1mm shim. I typically don't really change that on dirt. Very rarely where I've kind of moved to the longer location, something that we've done at Beach RC. But middle location, 1mm here is pretty standard. And then we'll work our way to the tower. Outside hole is very standard on dirt. Typically never ever change that. Outside hole location is the standard. And then of course for the Kimberlink on the outer, this location, the inside one is always the center location, never changed. So we'll work our way around, flip the car, and talk about the suspension arms and where the shocks are mounted, springs, and so forth. So as you can see, outside hole in the front arm, something that we've always ran on dirt, seems like it's always the standard. Gray front spring. The shock package was never changed, 2-hole 1.6s with 32 weight in the front. And then as you can see here, I have a little screw right here. The screw is all the way in, but it is something that we've been running the 2.5mm screws where we kind of unscrew them so the car has less steering throw. This was something that we tried during CRC with a very bumpy track. Sometimes too much steering throw can kind of get the car kind of flippy and edgy to drive. So definitely something worth trying. And then of course the steering plate. These are the 0 steering plates. They are not the +1s. It seems like sometimes when I was running the +1s, the car actually felt a little bit more edgy to drive, and the 0s, changing the Ackerman to less Ackerman, actually made the car like easier to drive on the wheel and more usable steering. So that's it for the front end. We'll talk about the weight in the front. We'll flip the car over and talk about that. So as you can see here, I have the Savox 1267 SG Servo. I have the aluminum weight underneath it. It's something that I've been liking, just having a little bit more weight than usual. As you can see, I have even the aluminum bulkhead kind of underneath there, 25-degree side, and it's just been kind of more steering, easier to drive during high-speed stuff. The one thing that I wanted to get into, it's kind of a complicated subject, but it is the caster that we're running in the raised steering rack. So as you can see, you might be able to see that the steering rack is raised right here. It is raised 3mm. It's something that we've been running, especially on these off-road dirt tracks, and of course our carpet guys have been running quite a bit. So when I raise this, I only raise this when I run 0 caster insert on the caster block. If I run 0, then you have to adjust the steering rack height because of the bump steer. And the bump steer is pretty much through the whole travel of the suspension. If the steering kind of wants to change, you always want it the front tires to be straight as it goes through the whole travel. So that's pretty much the only modification that I did to the steering, was raising the rack 3mm, running the 0 caster insert, and then ripping and gripping on the track. So as you can see through here, I have the ESC aluminum weight in the car. That's always something that we traditionally run. Like I said, just adding more weight just seems like it helps the car. My car actually weighs like 1558 total through the whole, with body, tires, and so forth. The Jconcepts Silvers are a very light tire, so keep that in mind when you're setting up your car. The battery is a 6100 ProTech battery. I love the ProTech batteries that they offer to the guys. I do have a Reedy 22-gram battery weight underneath the battery. Again, weight, just easier to drive, more planted. So, and then we'll work our way to the rear end of the car. And As you can see here, I have the short tower on, white V1 rear springs, 2-hole 1.7 piston, 30 weight shock oil. The whole location on the arm is the A location all the way inside. It's definitely something that's been pretty standard for us. And then for the hex, I'm not sure if you can see it, but this is a 4mm hex. I am running the 75mm arm, as you can see right here, 75mm. For those people who are getting a car that just maybe don't know what they are looking for and want something that's just going to have traction right out of the box, the short arm I would definitely still recommend. The 75mm arm that has some different tractions in areas, but tends to roll a little bit more. It's not so like straightforward to drive. It's a little bit more. You need a little bit more finesse with the car. So if you were gonna build it like a full-on race car with my setup, then maybe just try and see how it is. But if you're looking for something a little bit more comfort and traction out of a hole, the 73mm arm would be my recommendation. So as far as the rear link goes, as you can see, I actually have this rear link flipped for the nub facing to the outer side. What that does, it actually moves the link a little bit longer, and then I have a 1 mil right here to fine tune the overall length. And then we'll kind of get into why I did that. As you can see on the rear camber link, I'm running the outer location, which is not normal for us racers. This is something that we've been calling the new technology. Kurt Wanger, Brent Thelke, and I, and some of the factory team guys have been playing with this to help with just traction. It's something that's not traditionally done in years past. So we just started doing this at the end of last year. I started running this at Surf City and been developing the actual camber location and how it kind of works through the whole stroke for camber gain and camber loss. So outer location here, 2mm. And of course, going through the pivot with stuff, I am still running the, as you can see on the setup sheet, on the C block down and out. And then for this setup sheet, this was for CRC, which I ran a 1.5 degree of anti-squat. At the Desert Classic, I bumped this up to the one step higher for the C anti-squat, which was 2-degree anti-squat. And this just helped the car stay flatter on power steering, help with the corner speed. It just really depends on the traction level. So I added anti-squat to get more on power steering. If you needed less steering, then I would go to like less anti-squat to get the more weight bias to the back of the car. And then we'll kind of talk about like the wheelbase. As you can see, my hubs are in the middle location. The axle height is plus 2mm, along with the rear diff height is plus 2. At CRC, I did run plus 3 diff height, as you can see. The reason why I did plus 3 at CRC was because I needed a little bit less steering. The rear end felt kind of rigid to drive, so I raised the diff to make it a little bit softer, so I wasn't kind of like butt puckering going around the corners. So that was my figure of speech. But as long as the car feels kind of comfortable to drive and the rear end's rolling, you shouldn't really feel like you're kind of like your calves are hurting while you're driving. So, but I did wanted to mention the wheelbase. I do have the 2mm shim in front of the arm to push the arms back. When the grip comes up, you kind of want a little bit more weight bias pushed to the front. When you move the arms back, that's what that does. And then, of course, if you move the arms shorter or make the car shorter, it pushes more weight to the back of the car. So if you need less steering, move the arms forward. More steering, move the arms back. And then you kind of get the picture. And then as far as rear tower height, or excuse me, rear tower location, I always run the shocks in the rear leaned in with the stiffer rear spring, which is the white V1s. Kind of always my standard. I know I got most of the team guys running the leaned in shocks white rear spring. And then the money maker right here that I was really stoked about was the new Jconcepts rear wing. This is the 7-inch carpet wing that they recently made, kind of the end of last year. I've been running it. It's a little bit longer, of course, 7-inch, a half an inch longer than the 6.5. Then the gurney is cut a little bit lower than normal. When you run a little bit longer wing, it has more stability, more traction. I think it jumps better. I think it corners a little bit more smoother, and just super easy to drive. So one of the things that I wanted to go through was the changes that I made. One was the diff height from CRC, and the what else was it? The diff height and the anti-squat. Yeah, forgot about that. Anti-squat was I added more 1 degree anti-squat to have more on-power steering, and then I lowered the diff for hobby action because the rear end was kind of soft. I wanted to stiffen it up because it wasn't feeling rigid, and that helped with corner speed as well. So that's pretty much the whole rundown of the B6 Team Associated B6.2. I really hope the rundown helped you guys, kind of give you an idea on what changes I've made from previous setup sheets, a little bit of an inside look of my car, and of course, if this helps you with your local track running, club racing, I hope it does, because I really think that these kind of videos can do that. Once again, thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate you guys subscribing to my channel. If you haven't, hit the notification bell, hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you guys on the next one.